One of the major issues facing women's sports right now is the discussion topic about the inclusion of transgender athletes, biological males, in women's sports. I was wondering if you would tell me your position on that issue.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about South Carolina women's basketball coach Don Staley being asked about transgender players in the game. Should they play? Should they not play? What's your take on the whole situation? Now, this, I kind of feel bad for her because she's being asked a question, and I think she knows that she can't say the wrong thing or else she'll get canceled for a variety of reasons, but we all know how powerful the LGBT lobby is, and you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to get anybody offended, and you might be kind of on the left. So you got to say certain things to keep your position, to stay where you are, to not get canceled. And I think they were still playing at that time. So if she said the wrong thing, it would have been a big crazy distraction. So I kind of feel bad for her. But at the same time, this shouldn't even be a question that she has to answer. And she's been politically motivated at other times. But I think this issue right here was a little bit too third rail for her to touch. Now, before I go any further, let's get into the actual video. Of course, I will link to everything I'm talking about right now in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Dan Zakrzewski, Outkick coach, you just talked about, what a massive weekend this is obviously for women's basketball, women's sports in general. One of the major issues facing women's sports right now is the discussion topic about the inclusion of transgender athletes, biological males, in women's sports. I was wondering if you would tell me your position on that issue.
She already knows it's going to be rough. Take a swig of that drink, whatever it is. Hopefully you got a little something extra in there because it's going to be a rough one.
Damn, you got deep on me, didn't you?
What do you say? What's the appropriate response here? That's what this little body language was. What do I say?
I'm under the opinion of
Yikes. What do you say?
If you're a woman, you should play. If you consider yourself a woman and you want to play sports or vice versa, you should be able to play. That's my opinion. You want me to go deeper?
Do you think transgender women should be able to participate
that's your question
in
you want
basketball?
Me to ask. You want to ask, so I'll give you that. Yes. So now the barnstorm of people are going to flood my timeline and be a distraction to me on one of the biggest days of our game.
And really, it's kind of a lose-lose question. If you say no, they shouldn't, that's going to be a problem. If you say yes, they should, that's going to be a problem too. But again, this shouldn't even be a question that has to be asked or answered. It shouldn't be a question.
And I'm okay with that.
Now, okay, so basically, yes, but I don't think she wanted to say that. I think she wanted to say no. And just have a little bit of context here. Don Staley, obviously, is a women's college basketball coach for South Carolina, and she also played in the WNBA. I recognize her from back then. I'm not a WNBA watcher, but I do remember her. I do recognize her name. Now, Don Staley, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, is a bulldagger, basically a lesbian, part of the LGBT community. And if I'm wrong, y'all please correct me. And if she's not, obviously, she has that energy, and being part of the WNBA, you're largely surrounded by that kind of energy. A lot of lesbians play WNBA basketball, all right? It's kind of the culture that exists in that particular league. So you want to be aligned with your LGBTs, but at the same time, you know that the WNBA exists for a reason. There's never going to be a woman who can play with the men, ever. There are plenty of skilled women, but they're skilled women. Let them play with other skilled women and have that be that. Rather than having the biological men who identifies women play with the women. That's going to be unfair. I think she understands that. I think all athletes understand that, but they're afraid to get canceled. They're afraid of what's going to happen to them if they answer that question the wrong way. All right. Now, more about Dawn Staley. She has been political before, so the door is kind of open. Now, there was an incident. When was this? This was in 22. There was an incident with BYU, Brigham Young University players. There was an alleged racial slur, and as a result of the racial slur, South Carolina canceled 2 games against BYU, and then coming to find out there was no racial slur after an investigation. So let's watch this and see what she was talking about back then compared to right now. And that tells you just how much power the LGBT lobby really has. Check it out.
It wasn't a knee-jerk reaction, obviously, because I don't knee-jerk anything. I vetted it. I talked to various people that was a part of the situation, and I just felt like, I slept on it a few nights, and I woke up with the same just gut feeling that I should not put our players in that situation. I did not discuss it with our players. I did tell them, was it yesterday? Yeah, Friday, that is going to be happening, and they nodded in affirmation. So, and I didn't do it to condemn BYU. I did not do that. This was a selfish decision, and I was only thinking about South Carolina women's basketball.
So that's what happened there. There's a news clip here as well. Let's get to this.
The University of South Carolina women's basketball team has canceled their season opening series with Brigham Young University. It comes after a BYU fan yelled slurs at a Duke volleyball player. BYU's apologized. Head Gamecocks coach Dawn Staley said in a statement, in part, quote, "As a head coach, my job is to do what's best for my players and staff." Staley went on to say, "I don't feel that this is the right time for us to engage in this series."
So again, the racial slur was against a Duke volleyball player, allegedly. That was the allegation. But they investigated it, and the racial slur didn't happen. So I don't know how that mix-up happened. But Dawn Staley took a stand against BYU and the racial slurs and canceled games against them. But then when it comes to the question about transgender players playing in the league, she's afraid to answer that question. So when you're talking about race and things like that, it's cool. You feel comfortable being able to communicate your feelings. But when it comes to your own community now, Miss Staley, the LGBT, you're afraid. You're afraid you're going to get kicked out. You're afraid there's going to be a big cancellation against you. That tells you which one of the two has more power than the other. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to everybody in college basketball who wants to keep their league the way it is. The men play with the men. Women play with the women. If somebody identifies as transgender or whatever, that's their business, okay? I'm not trying to get in the way of what somebody thinks about themselves. That's their business. However, when you're looking at reality, XX or XY, and you should play with your chromosome equivalent league. That's it. Regardless of what you could think whatever you want about yourself, okay? You could come to practice wearing a wedding dress, high heels, makeup like Dennis Rodman did, but at the end of the day, you play with the men. And as simple as that. And if you're good enough to make the team and they want you on there and you're a good team fit, then so be it. It doesn't matter. You got these guys painting their nails. Okay, that's fine. They still men. Just because they paint their nails and wear makeup does not mean they can play with the women at that point. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what Dawn Staley said here about trans players playing in the league? Do you think that she was afraid to say what she really wanted to say? Do you think it was like an invisible gun to her head? You better say the right thing or else. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I think that she was afraid and didn't want to say the wrong thing when it comes to race and other things that fear isn't really there. But when it comes to this issue, people are afraid. They don't want to get canceled. They don't want to have the lobby come after them. That's kind of what's going on. And it's like a form of bullying. And I don't want to see women get bullied into allowing biological males to play against them and wind up dominating, because where do we see women's sports going from here? Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.